Okay, hit the button. What did that button do? It started a stream. This is stream number 30. DataDisintegrator. Or blowing up bits. Blowing up bits and deleting things that aren't used. We have 350 tests and we're passing them all. Okay, what do we have to do? Running out of things to do. Maybe ignore parts now. Maybe ignore parts. I think it's just going to be an alternate specification of part, which doesn't have a name. Build part. Some of this stuff we're going to need to reuse, though. So a method of the context that can make apply. It's really applying a bound to to the composite's origin, and giving us a new bound or new origin. Bad limit. That's only because I couldn't throw an error, right? Well, there's an early return and there's not an early return. Why did I distinguish between one way where we're shortcutting all the way out versus not? This result here. I think I remember why. If we had a bound, then we could potentially record where an erroneous component was located in the bit stream. But is origin valid on some errors? Oh yeah, it is. Some 0. I think the problem is that this is a combination of limit and offset. So without an origin, you can't have an offset. So we don't even bother making a component. But if we have an origin, we try our best to make a component. If we still can't determine a limit, we'll set the limit to 0, but otherwise have an origin and make a bit stream, make an origin out of it that has a 0 limit, no bits. Okay. Hey there. So C17R. I'm tired this morning. I'm a little low on motivation. Plus, I was watching just briefly, some other Twitch streamers this morning, thinking, wow, they're a lot more energetic than I am. And I wish I could get into that hype when I don't have the energy. Yeah. So I'm trying to decide how much of this I can make into a common function, because we're going to have a build ignore, which is like a build part. There's only one difference really, that it has no name. Actually, I wonder if I could just combine part statement with ignore statement. Maybe that's the better way to do this. So they both have args, they both have a bound, they both have a format, they both have a look ahead, they both have an L value. The only thing that ignore lacks an interpretation and a name, but those are already optional. Why does part have an, oh, part has an optional name because if it's a part and it has no name, we use the format as the name. Some other streamers are outwardly more energetic, but few get as much done as you. Well, thank you, Utsby. And hello, and also hello to Sarian. Yeah, I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but like if you're just kind of lacking energy and then you see an energetic person, you kind of start, it like kind of doesn't inspire you. In fact, it does the opposite. It's like they're so energetic, like there's no way I could be that energetic right now. And now it's like a demotivator. I think it's because I am thinking about it in the wrong way. I am comparing myself to someone else who's in a different situation, different circumstances, and sort of judging myself, saying that I'm falling short because I'm not able to or willing to or uh, be or do something that I see someone else doing, even though I want to. And that's not fair to myself. Okay, there's just so much commonality between these. The problem that I have, though, is that there are actually three meanings for name. It could have a name. It has a name. It's a part. It could not have a name but still be a part because the name should default to format. And it could not have a name because it's supposed to be ignored. But now I'm thinking that ignored should just be a Boolean. Pub ignored. And ignored might not be the best name, but I'm thinking it, I'm using it right now because, how do I explain this? Probably by an example. I'm using an ignore rule in Gajif. Here, that's an ignore rule, the minus in front. So the purpose of that minus in front is to say we're going to parse something, but we're not going to name it anything on purpose because we don't want these bits to actually we don't want it to be considered part of the composition. And one main reason why is we're doing this look ahead. That's what that plus means. We're reading 8 bits and taking that as an unsigned integer, storing it into a local, and then rewinding the bit stream back. Now, why would I do that, right? That's because we don't know if the next thing is a data block or a trailer until we look at that next byte. And if it's a 3B, then we know it's a trailer and we can break out and parse it as a trailer. Trailer always begins with 3B. So you might ask me, why not say if next is 3B, then it's a trailer? Why break and then parse it again? And my answer to that is trailer is outside of the vector context of this loop. If I put it in, then we'd have like, when I run this and let it go all the way to the end, there's 61 times it looped, right? So it filled in indices 0 through 60 of data. If I put trailer inside the loop too, then we'd have also 61 slots for trailer, and all of them would be nil except for the last one. And then we'd also have this weird empty slot in the data vector at the very end. So I want trailer to be outside, and yet we have to know if the next thing is a trailer while we're in the loop. So it's like a chicken and the egg problem. So I solved it by saying we're allowed to peek. We're allowed to look ahead, but then we don't want to actually store that as a member of the component. I don't want next to show up either in vector context or in the component overall. So I made it a local. This is now optional in the syntax because I decided that if you do a copy, it's always going to be to a local, and if it doesn't exist, we create it. And locals don't participate in vector context either, so we could actually declare it here. Like I could do this, and that's equivalent. Actually, what does that do for the old C++ code? Yeah, it's equivalent. I think. What if I do a report? Does next show up? Why does it say unable to open file 2? Oh, because there's no 2. Next. Yeah, there's no next in the composition. So that actually I should have done a long time ago because now it's sort of balanced. But if I do that, we get a problem, right? No, it still works. So then there really was no need for me to make a local statement at all if we're going to copy, right? There is one reason why we want local, and that's that we want... Wait, no. Take that back. There's really no reason to have that local statement. Unless maybe, like, is this allowed if I say like x equal 1? Is that actually parsed correctly? Yeah, that still works. Let me make sure I'm not reading a different file. Yeah, syntax error. But if I say that, then x is a local, right? Let's say foobar. Parse to the end. 1g, look for foobar. The pattern not found, so do it with the report. Look for foobar. So if we do that, it becomes a part with no bits. Okay, I can accept that in the C++ version, it will show up, but in the Rust version, it won't because it has no bits, which makes sense, right? Or do I want it to show up, actually? I don't know. I can, if I need it to show up later, I can make it. All right, I thought about this before. If I need it to show up in the composition later and be attached to the key children, we can make a special syntax for that. So I don't actually have to declare it. We're just saying that. Fundamentally, I need to tell the difference between if we have a part like that and we have another part like that. The parser doesn't know if that should be a named part or not. Both of these are format names, but a format name can logically also become the component name because it's true for the GIF header. UI, though, doesn't make sense. So you wouldn't want to name that unless it has a name different from its format, like width or something like that. The alternative is we always have to make a custom format. And so we would always have to say like width, even if width is trivial, like this UI 8 return UI. So I didn't want to have to do that. So what made more sense to me was say UI width 8 and not have that. But then that means that I need to be able to have a name other than the format sometimes. But also, if I don't have the name, it's just the name comes from the format. But then I also want to be able to like actually skip like reserved bits. You could do a pass between parsing and evaluating, which performs some validity checking. Validity checking, like what kind of validity checking? I'm sort of already doing that during the evaluation. But I'm thinking like these grammar rules, part and ignore, maybe I combine them. I'm driven by the fact that in statement, a part statement and an ignore statement are almost identical. The only difference is that ignore doesn't have a name, and part cannot have a name too, but that means something else. That means the name we derive from the format, which ignore also has. The only other difference is that an ignore statement doesn't have a interpretation right here. But then again, why can't an ignore have an interpretation? It's just a useless interpretation. Do you mean double pass the input stream like assemblers do in linking? Well, assemblers don't do a double pass to the input stream. Assemblers will process the input stream by converting it from assembly to machine language, right? Or do you mean the object file, the intermediate file between the input stream and the program? You have to have an object file because linking means that you're selecting compiled bits based off of if they're used or not, and then filling in the references, right? Do a second pass to link the relative jumps. Well, that's you can do the selection and the relative jumps at the same time, right? Well, actually, no. The result, the linking the relative jumps, a lot of the times the loader does that. But it depends. Sometimes you can do linking the full linking right away. Sometimes, other times you leave it as a reference and you let the loader resolve it. Dynamic loader, right? More and more I'm thinking I should combine part and ignore, and then I won't have this problem, and I also won't have the problem of when I get into the code that execute part statement has a lot of things that are in common with an ignore statement. The other thing I think doesn't make sense is if you have a look ahead, you would always want to ignore it, I think. So what if, like, instead of having both of these symbols, I were to just say that, and a look ahead implies an ignore? Would I ever want to have a look ahead that's named? I don't think so. So what if I just have a part that has an extra field that can be one of three things? It's either a look ahead, an ignore, or neither. And the implication is if it's a look ahead or an ignore, and you give it a name, that name can be used locally, but is not stored. So then I could just say something like plus UI next, and then that is no longer stored, but it behaves like a local, then I don't actually need the copy syntax at all, do I? Yeah, I don't. I can simplify the syntax a bit. What grammar for the parser? Here's the grammar for the parser. We're looking at statement right now, right? So we have the part statement, and then we have the ignore statement, and there's a lot a lot of similarities here. I even have you can have a look ahead format and a look ahead ignore. And we haven't, I put that in there because it was easy to do, but then I don't really need it because I would just make an ignore with no, you would never have a look ahead and a name unless I combine them like what I'm thinking about doing. Yeah, I think I've convinced myself. That looks nicer than that or that, what I had originally. Let's go back to what I had originally. I had that originally, right? And then I said, well, that doesn't really need to be outside the loop because it doesn't matter. I could have that. But then why not just make a copy to imply a local, which is what I did yesterday. And then now I'm thinking, just remove that symbol because if it's an ignore, then why not just allow a name and then it becomes a local? And then a look ahead is always an ignore, so why don't I just do that? Now, actually, it's a lot easier to explain that if you see a plus in front of a format, it means a look ahead. I don't want to put the plus there because you might want to have a look ahead that doesn't have a bound. I could put the plus there, but then it looks weird if you don't name it. I could put the plus after UI, but again, it looks weird if you don't name it. So I think that's what I want to have. And in this case, I want to name it. Yeah, okay, I've convinced myself. What's a look ahead? So a look ahead is in the GIF format, right? GIF, 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 whatever. When you're in the main loop, you don't know whether to parse the next thing as a data or a trailer without looking ahead a byte and peeking and seeing if it's the tag for a trailer. I don't want to put trailer inside the loop because then trailer will have a whole vector, all of which the cells will be empty except the last one, and then data will have this weird extra cell that's empty. So logically, the trailer goes outside the loop because data is an array and trailer's not, but we don't know whether to exit the loop until we've started parsing the next thing. So the look ahead basically cheats and says, if I look at the next byte, is it something that looks like a data or a trailer? If it's a trailer, then we break out and then we're going to parse it as a trailer. Yeah, peeking. Look ahead is peeking. Yeah. I should have just said that. Peeking. This is a peek. 3B, break, it's a trailer. Okay, I like this. So that means I'm changing a bunch of things. I'm getting rid of the ignore syntax. This look ahead is now has 3 states, so it's not just look ahead, it's like look ahead, ignore, or neither. So I need a new name for that. So if the options are look ahead, ignore, or neither, I guess it would be part. No, they're all parts. No, they're not. Part is the third option. It's either an ignore some bits, or it's a look ahead or a peek, or it's a part. But I'm already using part. I could rename this and this, but I need a name that, what combines all 3 of those things? Component, I guess? But it's not, a component implies it's actually a part. So component and part are sort of like synonyms. Maybe a parsing statement? That actually makes the most sense. Parse statement. The parse statement would imply we're looking at some bits, which is exactly what all three of them do. Okay, that's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it a parse statement. So parse statement. And then I have to manually hit it there because this is not a Rust file, but back in statement, we can call this a parse statement. And then we can rename this to parse. And then I can just get rid of the ignore syntax. And instead of ignore, this is going to be something that distinguishes it between a part, an ignore, and a look ahead. I'm thinking like usage. So how you'd use the parse result, you'd either ignore it, you'd just look ahead, or it becomes a part. Yeah, there we go. We're gonna call it usage. So we'll say parsing usage. Or maybe it's like parsing purpose or parsing goal. I'm open to suggestions for an alternate for that. But where can I put such an enum? I guess we can just put it here. Part kind and type. I'm trying to avoid those words though, you know? Parse kind. Goal sounds nice. Goal, maybe? Parsing goal. The goal of parsing this is to either ignore it to peek or to make a new part. It's definitely within the context of parsing. So it's parsing something. Yeah, let's do goal. I like that. We'll give a points to Geo52 Ray. And I typed that wrong. Geo 1. You do find it strange to call something in a parser parse though? You mean parser being the overall thing? That's why I've been avoiding the name parser. I've been calling it ingestion or decomposition. But it's really just playing name games. Naming is hard. Even the whole name of the project, DataDisintegrator, it's because all the other good names were taken. So this is like part, ignore, and look ahead. Look ahead, one word or two. I think it should be one because I haven't been putting an underscore there. It's all alphabetically sorted. Okay, well, then we're getting rid of ignore. Woohoo! Yeah, so there's some implications of goal. If the goal is to make a part, then a no name means we use the format. If it's an ignore or look ahead, a no name is the default really, and if you have a name, it becomes a local variable. All right, I'm happy with this. So this just needs another field in their goal. Okay, so this actually gets broken up into two things because the format part goes there, and then that's just this should say parse, and then really we do a match on goal. Oh, and we're getting rid of the look ahead flag. Right. It being a flag at all was sort of a code smell to me all along. It felt like it just like tacked it on, but really it should be incorporated into something else. So match goal. We're going to end up writing something different, right? So for each of these, part is the default, so it has no, nothing there. If it's ignore, it's a minus, and that now it's actually kind of balanced. Minus plus, so part is sort of like the default, and then you have ignore on the left and parse look ahead on the right, positive and negative. The more I look at this, the more I'm happy with it, which is a good sign. So we don't need this statement ignore anymore. Cool. Okay, so what's next? Chase the errors down? Whoa, that total, when I did like fill structure fields, it totally borked it. Let's just put goal here. Good way. Parse. Part. Undeclared. Yeah. We have to actually use it in the AST. Parsing goal. There. Wait. That should just be a use. There we go. Good morning, Nightshade dude. How are you? Feeling better. I started the stream feeling pretty demotivated. Um, I have to not beat myself up when I see. I was like looking at other streamers, thinking, "Wow, these guys are so much more energetic and pumped up," and I'm just not, and that made me even feel even worse. Then I have to remember I'm not them, and I should not hold myself to any kind of equitable standard. Well, there's no like there's no like ideal or common what's the word? I shouldn't I shouldn't try to be someone else. It's just that kind of day. This usually for me this is Monday, but it's happening on Tuesday. Why is that? You're mid at best right now, slept poorly and have a garbage bug that you don't know what you did to cause it. I'm sorry about the bug. Nightshade dude, just remember the worst bug feels the greatest when you finally fix it. So if anything, hope for that you occasionally have a bad bug, a garbage bug, so that it feels so much more sweet when you fix it. If you just have mediocre bugs all the time, you'd only have like mediocre rewards in fixing them. My energy levels okay by me. Yeah, but I look at other streamers who are like way into it and hyped up, and they have like 75 people watching, and then that envy creeps in, and I'm like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. Oh, we're getting rid of L value too while we're at it. Why don't we just hit all these things at once, right? We're getting rid of this. This has to be a goal, optional goal, really. This is goal, optional goal. And Actually, why don't I just make it goal and then part of, well, no, I want it op to be like it, there might not be any terminal symbols in it. Format name, expression. So we're getting rid of this op assign. I don't think I need it. If we wanted it to have a name, we would just name it. And if I wanted to make a copy, I just use an assignment statement. Yeah. So this is goal, and really goal goes there. Glow! Glow! Like a Pokemon. Glow! Okay, get rid of that. See what more viewers? That's a good goal. I don't know. Why is it that streamers become envious of others who have higher view count? Well, one thing is it's incentivized. If you're trying to make money on Twitch, they're super incentivized to get more viewers, right? But right now, I'm not even an affiliate, so I can't make money. Is it popularity? I don't actually. When there's too many viewers watching, I think the quality of the stream goes down because I can't pay attention to all the people. So really, I should be aiming for a healthy level of some engagement, but not too much. So I'm not super distracted and I can get some work. A balance of work with interaction would be the best. So I think it's just in their emotional, irrational I guess, learned behavior to, or maybe not even learned behavior, like a default behavior arising from this need to be popular. Engagement is the worst. Show me the code. Yeah, so I should not be someone that I'm not. I should be sort of celebrating what I am. So that is that I'd rather get some work done than to hype up some like than to hype up the memes. I let other people do the memes. If you want to watch memes, go watch the Primogen, right? So, not saying that memes are bad or the Primogen is bad. It's just a different kind of stream. It's more entertainment, less coding, more entertainment. I like to have I guess I'm looking for a more code, not so much entertainment. That doesn't sound right though. This is an unentertaining stream because we just work here. That didn't come off quite right. Okay, statement. Yeah, this L value, we're getting rid of that. That's going to break a bunch of things, isn't it? You were in Strager's stream yesterday, and he did this nice thing with over 100 viewers to fairly engage with chat. He treated it as a queue, jumping between code and chat. Yeah, I think that that's a good balance too. He'll catch up with chat, and then he'll go back to the code and let it accumulate, and then go back into chat. And I do tend to do that sometimes, but then I'll spend too much time on one versus the other. Still working on that. That takes a lot of practice actually, more than you might think. Aim for a Teej level of code versus engagement. I don't watch Teej, so I don't know that. Prime doesn't really code on stream anymore. It's pretty much all reaction engagement. Not that it's a bad thing. My stream is authentic. See, but Teej's stream is also authentic, and so is the Primogen. His stream is authentic. It's just that they have a different personality, different goal, different mix, different reason for streaming. And that's good because there's a variety. You don't want 10 Primogens. You want one Primogen, one Tej, one Raimu, one CM Griffing, and then what do you feel like? You feel like more memes today? Go watch one stream. If you want just work, focus on code, watch someone else. See, now I'm pumping myself up and being motivated to that I'm offering something a little bit different and I don't need to be like other streamers and just remind myself of my goals. I want to get this project going. I'm going to show people what I do to make this project. And whenever I have an opportunity to be educational, like if I find a point where I'm doing dependency injection or Separation of concerns. I'm going to point it out because that's important to me. Okay. Following the errors, I think. Following the errors is always a good tactic in Rust. So we're just deleting L value when we see it. Yeah, this goes away. Yep. Actually, I wonder if I don't even need the parentheses. Well, this is in a unified like report for display trait, right? Yeah, that's fine. Make it more uniform. Okay. What if I look for all look ahead false and I say goal parsing goal part? Okay. And we look for all L values nones and we say, well, those lines need to go. 8 errors left. Okay. Look ahead true becomes goal parsing goal glow parsing goal look ahead. L value gone. I was confused how console colors fit into the Rust display right formatter Cosmos. I don't know how that works either. Because from what I know, the display trait just says make a string. I don't think there's anything in here about colorization. It makes me think that colorization is independent or on top of formatting. So the traditional way to do colorization is with ANSI codes, right? So maybe that's how it's still done. So ANSI color codes. So it's these escape sequences that you do. And it's rooted in a lot of interesting history if you're into that. But yeah, you have escape and then a left bracket and then a number and then a letter to do a lot of things like moving the cursor around or changing the color. Yeah, cursor movement. So probably in here somewhere is changing colors. Here's like bold, underline. Yeah, here we go, setting the foreground color. So maybe that's still how it's done. I don't know. Are you allowed to do that in debug? I don't see why not. The possible downside is it's actually both in display and debug is that if where it's printed doesn't understand those ANSI codes, you'll end up with weird characters like it'll say like hat because it'll turn the escape key escape and the escape code into a hat, and then you'll have like 36C or something. You see these whenever you see weird sequences like that, it's that something you had tried to print those ANSI escape sequences, but it printed to something that didn't understand them, and so it just literally reinterpreted the escape code to be something else like a hat, and then the rest of the sequence is just in there like puke. That's ANSI code puke. Yeah, exactly. I don't think the Rust police would care because if you're putting ANSI control sequences in your display trait, you're either asking for the code puke, or you're displaying it on something that understands the ANSI codes, and now it's nice and colorized. But yeah, if anyone knows if there's like a newer way that's more terminal friendly to do the colors, sure like to know. Because some of the stuff just like Rust seems to like be able to colorize things, and I don't know if is it using ANSI codes or not. I'm guessing it is. It also might be smart enough to at runtime have some way to query the terminal to say, do you support this or not? And if it doesn't, it goes back to the non-escape code stuff. They strip the color stuff off. They invite my library into their PC. I puke all over the place. Exactly. No, we don't want code puke. Not at all. All right. Look ahead false becomes goal parsing goal part. L value none. Select all, delete line. Wow, no errors. So this is actually going to run now? No, we actually have errors. We have errors in statement. It just doesn't know we have errors in statement. Which statement? Context statement. State, meant, rs, ingestion. So just hit save to let it parse again. That didn't help. How about restart the Rust Analyzer? Sometimes Rust Analyzer gets confused. Okay, that means it's like, whoa. Oh, because we're not building correctly. Okay, right, yep. I remember changing that op goal. We never defined what op goal was. So we're going to take the old op look ahead and repurpose it here. So op goal now is not a bool, it's a parsing goal. Empty will be parsing goal part. A plus is a parsing goal look ahead. And a minus is a parsing goal ignore. So let's just see if I can build it. Okay, cool. So I can reset Rust Analyzer again. Rust Analyzer really doesn't like it if it gets any errors during the build.rs phase. So just a refresher on that. The parser, which is the part of the compiler that turns the token stream into the abstract syntax tree, it's got a build.rs in order to actually generate the parser from the grammar. And if that fails, Rust Analyzer gets really upset. It looks like it's still upset. So reload. Sometimes you just gotta reload. That doesn't work. Got to do a clean and a reload. So what is it? What's its problem right now? Oh, there's still a problem with the grammar. What? Why is it barfing the whole grammar out? Conflict detected. Oh no! We have a conflict. Looking at a token return, we can reduce to an op goal. We can also shift. Why would looking at a return token? Is it because it's a plus? So we have a ambiguous grammar apparently. So if we have a blank, a plus, or a minus in front of a identifier, I thought that was unambiguous enough, but maybe. Well, no, then it ends in a semicolon or a left brace. So what's making this ambiguous? I don't know. Thing is, it's got too much barf. Looking at a token left bracket, we could reduce it to gold, but we could also shift. It's always an off goal. It thinks that, like, if it sees something, that it might shift. Reduce, no, that's not true. Why would we reduce it to a goal if we're looking at a token local? Is it the empty branch? That's a good thing we could test. I wouldn't think so because this I used to have this for the ignore rule, right? That it could be an empty. But let's delete it and see. I think that was it. But why does that make it ambiguous? Maybe because it would need to look ahead 2 tokens. So doing that makes it ambiguous. Why? It if it sees the word local, it should just know that it should shift it. It's always going to be an identifier after it, right? What if I like put some other markers around it? So we can have like a goal and then an op goal. It's either nothing. It's the nothing rule that's the problem, right? Yeah, never mind. I want there to be a rule where it's nothing. Uh, what if I just make 2 rules? One without anything in front and the other one with a goal. And here the goal is parsing goal part. And the other one, it's not op anymore. We just don't have that rule. If that works, then that's a good compromise. Yeah, okay, we're good with that. Restart server. It should find my error there. I'm hoping in my mind that I didn't. Okay, good. It's not showing that error because we have other errors. Okay. Okay, this tells me that I need to move that up 1 level. The tests. And I probably have other tests that are, yeah, we don't want that there. They should all just be having 3 imports. Maybe 2. Looking good. Oh, this whole thing goes away. Actually, that should just be goal. Yes. this is goal parser. Token plus is okay. Parsing goal look ahead. And then token minus it's parsing goal ignore. And then no more test cases. Test goal. Goal parser. Okay, moving on. Okay, looking good. Looking good. There is no ignore statement. Actually, there is an ignore statement. My bad. Forgot to hit save there. Back. This is statement parse. Okay. All of that. Arguments. So which one is it? It's an ignore, right? Ignore format. 42 for the argument. The bound is 67. The format's bar and has no interpretation. Goal is look ahead. No, goal is ignore. Name is has no name. None. Okay, that's an ignore rule. And then I should have a look ahead rule. So it's, and we can actually name the look ahead rule this time. So that's plus it's to have a name is to have something after the format. Oh, there's an L value assigned. I need to get rid of that. So this one would have the name is foo. Get rid of the L value, which doesn't exist anymore. So that's the name is sum foo to string. Goal is look ahead. Okay. Missing some punctuation. That's why this is all messed up now. What did I do to break this thing? Well, this is wrong anyway. Ignore is defined multiple times. Oh, my bad. Part, ignore. This is look ahead, right? So this is goal. Format name, args. There's no L value. Okay, 2 errors left. Mismatched types. Because the expected output should be parsing goal. Huh, so we still have errors, but Rust Analyzer can't see them for some reason. So that makes me think that like the build is actually not building. Lexer, it was a Lexer build. does the parser build? Geo said, can I put the goal statement at the end? I could, but I think it would look kind of weird. Looks like I do have a problem with the parser in the grammar. That's why Rust Analyzer is stuck. I'll just fix that in a second. So if I put it at the end, it would look like that. And if it's ignore, it would be like that. I could, I guess. But I'm also okay with having two reductions and goal just not covering all possible goals. Just the lack of a goal means it's a part because that's the usual one. So this is like part parsing goal part, and this is parsing goal ignore or look ahead. I'm okay with the two alternate reductions. I don't know why I couldn't combine them. And I suppose that this part could be a sub-rule, right? We could have a rule that just assembles a parse statement without a goal, but it would look kind of clumsy. It'd have to have some kind of default goal. Actually, I guess what it would be is the default goal would be a part, and then this would change it. It would change the goal. What are my thoughts on Evan and Code? Yeah, I do want to stream that. That's in December, right? Yeah, definitely post of hey. We're gonna do Evan and Code because that's always fun. This was in the grammar. It meant like try to match the goal at the end, but it doesn't matter. Try to match the goal at the end. Yeah, you mean to put it at the end, right? And then go back to op goal. It just I think I like it. I like to see it at the front. So it's personal preference. No, that's not what you meant. Okay, I'm not sure what you meant then. End of pub statement. Oh, that I know what you mean now, I think. You don't mean this, right? In the grammar. You mean to put it at the bottom here, or do you mean match the goal at the end? Oh, I think I know what you're saying. You're saying that it should be the last rule? I can try that really quick. But let me fix the other. There were some other grammar rules that were wrong, right? Right, it just doesn't know what parsing goal is because that needs to be here. And this isn't auto sorting because the Rust formatter doesn't have a chance to do that here, right? So I need to kind of do it myself. QRS. Okay, that looks good. Sometimes it convinces the grammars to be nice. Yeah, it's a good point. Good point, as in you'll probably get a point if this works. So, oh, yeah, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I want to make sure that it actually builds this way. If it does, then we rearrange the grammar to have one thing. Okay. Something's not found in scope. Parse statement. Yeah, parse statement. So compiling the parser takes a long time because the file generated from the grammar is freaking huge. So now that the parser compiles, If I restart this, will it see my ingestion errors? Proc macros. It's working. What you do by splitting the opcals should be a better solution. Well, I didn't like the repetition. I didn't like having to repeat the rule, like most of the rules repeated, and then the code is repeated. Yeah, I really would like these to be the same. So your suggestion might work. So let's try it. We'll put it at the end, and we'll put this back to opgal goal, and then opgoal needs to again have an empty rule, which does parsing goal. Whoa, parsing goal part. Nope, I didn't like it. Well, we tried. Yeah, there's something in the grammar. It's confused by having that empty, by having it possibly where it needs to reduce it before it shifts something else in. Which it's still weird to me that just having two rules fixes that. So one rule where there is a goal, another rule where there's not a goal. But I think it has to do with how many symbols it can look ahead to see if it should shift or reduce, right? I must have gotten into a situation where it would have had to look two ahead instead of one. If this is the only repetition I have to do, I'm okay with it. So I think we'll just move on. Right. So then, yeah, then I don't need an ignore anymore. But I have to be careful in the part statement, right? In the name we assign. Also, this L value thing, we don't do it anymore. Gone. So a lot of my tests are gonna break now, which is what I want. I want the test to break. The test surface should reflect like what broke on the test surface should indicate like the changes I made. So all of the goals should break. I didn't expect these to break, but these must have a point of fragility on, like they must be depending on a feature I just changed. And only got 4 tests in. This is sort of a disappointment. So does cargo test have the same problem? Does it only run like 5 tests? No. Okay, so we found a weakness, Extremely Ryan, if you're there. Extremely Ryan told me about this next test. By default, it won't run very many of the tests if you have a lot of failures, whereas cargo test will try to run them and we'll get like a longer failure list. But you know, that's not that big a weakness because that just sort of gives me a focus. We would first focus on the ones that failed now, right? And then that just means after we fix these, there'll be more work. Yeah, so see the problem where this syntax doesn't exist anymore. So what's the whole point here? D to I. So then, yeah, I need to have a local. So it would just, the alternate syntax is just x equals I. Or it was the ignore syntax is now equivalent, right? Ignore I, but name it and call it X, but it's ignored. Oh, I did that wrong. It's an integer, right? Called X. And then X plus, yeah, so we can do that. it's type first. So it's ignore an integer named x, and then since it's ignored, it's a local and we can add. Okay, that failed because it couldn't find x. It did find x, right? So it's assigning it's putting into the key children when it shouldn't. So let's fix that first. So that's statements, part statement, when it gets a name, right? It's this part. We only want to do that if it's a part. Otherwise, we're going, actually, no, it's the opposite of that. It's if it's not a part, then we declare it local. So if parsing goal part is not equal to statement goal, and self dot locals dot insert actually it's if that and it's if we don't have a name. If let some name equal that, then insert name. That to be cloned? Yeah. Or to owned. Mutable more than once. 319. Oh, I guess we have to do it beforehand. No, I could just do this here. Yeah. Okay, back to the test. Make sure we've fixed it now. Cool, passed. Cannot cast decimal, decide integer. That was the whole point, right? Was to assert that there's an error and there's no value, and also that x wasn't created as a side effect. Okay. Run the test again and Control C. There. D to UI. Same thing. So it's ignore it, call it X. That's irrelevant. Wait, it failed? Panicked. Yeah, because that was irrelevant. Passed. I think they're all broken the same way. Negative, I to I, it's, yeah. This would be ignore X. It's actually no longer ignore, really. It's saying that it's not a part. But we're still giving a name so we can use it locally. Okay. Negative I to UI. Yeah, I think it's just because I copied this everywhere. It's actually simplifying it in a way. So parsable string, yeah. What key am I? Okay, I'm hitting undo by accident. Parsable S2. So I want to do cut negative delete. Okay. Parsable unparsable. Cut beginning minus delete all that. Control F local. Probably should do that. That'd be smart. Yep. Thank you for helping me to get more efficient. Because now that I have multi-cursor, I can just cut all of those lines. Now, is it safe? Actually, let's do this. Yep, we have four matches. Negative space. Negative, no space. Delete, 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 delete. Done. Multi-cursor for the win. Negative eye to eye. Because of bar, right? Let's actually look for that globally and delete the line. Positive eye to eye. Oops, we didn't catch one. So are we looking for arrow? Yep. So all of the, oh, is this the only one? Only one left. Local, test local. Yeah, because we don't have, oh, hold on. No, it's just different, right? Again. Well, this test is really irrelevant now, right? Because, oh no, I still have local. And I wanted to have local Y because I wanted to be able to, what was it for? I can't remember now. Maybe I'm just deleting it because it's obsolete. But let's leave it for now. So it would be like a local, another local named Y, and then like X equals Y. That doesn't really test local because this statement's irrelevant. So this is a pretty weak test, isn't it? None. I think I should just go and delete it. Well, I need to keep it for backwards compatibility if I have old format. So how do I test it? Though. Oh, I know how to test it. I could just don't not have that at all, and I can just do y equals x. Return y. And it's either an error or it's not. So it's that matters. Yeah, it doesn't, we're not actually parsing bits, so the value is none. So that's okay, but if I delete that line, it's no longer okay because the right-hand side doesn't exist. There we go. I made it. So you'll get well, it shouldn't have said path unfound. It should have said X unfound. Okay, so there's an error in the diagnostic, but yeah, that's a valid test now. What's this unfound, path unfound? That's the problem, right? That's correct because it's interpolation, but that's actually not interpolating, is it? Oh, I need to do a format there. That's why. Now it's interpolating it. Should say X unfound. X unfound. There we go. And make the test work again. Now it's found. Great. Catch up on chat. Hey there, Ramy. Test-driven streaming. The kitty really wants to come in. I guess we'll have to show you the kitty. Oh, kitty. Meow. Get some purring. Some zen purring. She's like, you locked me out. Why did you lock me out? Oh, now she's gonna bite my hand. Just don't mess with me. She really hates it when I don't let her into the office while I'm streaming. But it's because she gets behind my green screen and she messes with me. Yeah, she purrs when she's like, oh, you're doing what I want now. You're letting me in. You're letting me in so I can mess with you later. Oh, we got really far this time. We're just failing one test. 2 tests still running. Okay, so yeah, well, this makes sense. We broke this, right? Test statement. So the part is broken as expected, right? Bar named Baz. What's the breakage? Expected that actual. Oh, it should say goal part. Okay, let's see if that was it. Hey, look, we passed all our tests. I thought I had 350 though. Do we end up deleting a test because I combined ignore with part? So, I should probably have in the ingestion, we should have something that tests ignore rules. Close everything. Ingestion, source, tests, part. Yeah, so I have argument, I have bad format, bad argument. Okay, let's have one for ignore. So there it's ignored, but we're still parsing 4 bits. So this will be it'll still have a value, but I need to check, yeah, we need to check that it doesn't have a child anymore. So there's no error. The value is the first 4 bits. When we look it up though, this should be is none. It failed, right? So it added it. Yeah. It shouldn't have. It should have made it a local and then removed it. Look at that again. Make sure I'm understanding it right. So bar showed up when it shouldn't have. Okay, time to fix it. Let's go find out what went wrong. Context, statement, part statement. Oh, this should be the other way around, right? Actually, I shouldn't even use that at all. I should just be using name. Yeah, why don't I just delete that? So does that handle all cases? I think it does, right? Actually, it doesn't. We don't want to do this if there was no name. And we don't want to do that either. We only want to use the format for the name if the goal is to make a part. So that's where I'm going to handle it. So this should be unwrap or else. Actually, it's not an unwrap or else. It could still be none, right? Where's name used? Down here, right? Okay. Yeah. Oh wow. It's only 59 Fahrenheit outside. That's why it feels chilly in here. Did you write your own test framer for this? Yeah, I'm just using this stuff that's built into Rust. If you mark a function with this test, then Rust Analyzer plugin for VS Code recognizes the test, and also Cargo Test knows about it. So you really don't need to do much to make tests. You mark your test functions with test, and then at some point you probably also want to do this, where you say it's only in the test configuration that you even have the test module at all. Otherwise, the function goes into your released library. So by making the configuration test, you're saying only compile this and include it if you're actually running the test. What statement.rs then? This is part of the ingestion library, so this is what happens when we're actually parsing a statement. But I do have multiple statement.rses. I have one in the AST, which this is the parse statement, the different kinds of statements, right? Statement.rs, and there's also the parser's test for statement, and then there's the ingestion to actually ingest a statement. You open your window, close it like 5 minutes later because you were freezing. It's 54 out right now. Yeah, why is it so cold today in Southern California? Why did you write? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I hope that answers the question, Rami. There are 3 different statement.rses. One is where we declare the type of the statement, which is here. Other statement.rs is where the parser tests it, the parsing of a statement, the parsing of a parse statement. And the third one is where we are here, where we're executing it. 50 Fahrenheit? 50 freedom temperature units? Okay, I don't want it on ref or else. I actually want this to be an option. So as ref, it should be like and then. If parsing goal part equals statement.goal, then it's sum else none. Let and then not appropriate takes an argument. Oh, it should be or else. There we go. Or else. Yep, that's what I want. So it should be down here. If let some name equals name. Then I got to do it again here, right? That's right. It has to have a name to go into the dictionary. Actually, the whole thing, right? If it doesn't have a name, it doesn't go into the dictionary, and it's not a local. It also, so if it doesn't have a name, it's neither a local variable nor a part. If it has a name, it goes into it goes into the it is a part, but it might be temporary. It's temporary. It becomes a local if it's not, if we weren't parsing a part. If it's a look ahead or an ignore, but it had a name, we temporarily allow it by putting into the locals. Option closure used to substitute value for option none. So he wants me to do or, I guess. I guess that's fine. It's saying that we could pre-compute that, right? And sure, that's fine. We can do that. Oh, I broke a bunch of stuff. Test break. I think I know how I might have broken it. Wait, it passed? Wait, I thought it just said it failed. Oh, I was reading wrong. It's the test ignore that broke. Okay. I wish I could actually click here, but it actually doesn't go to the right place. It like says tests. I don't know where to go. Yeah, I'm getting chilly. It's 69 Fahrenheit freedom temperature units in here, but it feels chilly. Data error. So it thinks that this was in error. So it thinks an error occurred. Oh, bar unfound. It should have found it though. It should have found it as a local. Hold on, let me think about this. I think I just closed the wrong thing. It didn't have an... Oh, crap. No, it should have had a name up here. No, it's none. Damn it. I did this wrong then. Because I did want this to work. Oh, wait. No, I don't. This is wrong. If it doesn't have a name, it's because I might want to have like multiple ignores of the same format. So I actually have to give it a name. So I have to test ignore differently, don't I? So what makes ignore special is that it doesn't actually keep the name around, but it allows the name to be used locally, and it parses. So we should actually just have two of these and name them different things. So X and Y, and we'll return X, but so we'll do it this way. X and Y should be none, right? The overall value should be what X was, which is the first 4 bits, but we should also test that 8 bits were parsed. 8 for data.origin.unwrap.offset limit. I think. No. We want to actually look at the bit stream, so that would be bits dot borrow dot offset. There we go. Okay, pass. So to make it fail would be if I delete the Y line, then that'll make it break because it won't have parsed 8 bits completely. And this also tests that even though we're ignoring it, that's a local name because we can get the value back out, but it doesn't show up as a child anymore. Okay, I'm happy. I haven't tested look ahead yet though. And I haven't even implemented it yet, have I? I have to, let's make a test for that. So I guess that is part of part, right? So we're going to test a look ahead. Do I have 2 test look aheads? I don't. Okay, good. So a look ahead would be like this, where we have, let's not ignore this one. Let's return Y. No, let's return X. So X should do a look ahead, but then Y will actually parse the same bits. And so when we return X, X and Y should have the same value, even though there are different bits in the first 4 and the next 4. So, and it should only parse 4 bits. So the return value should be the first 4, and Y should also have that same value. So X should be none, but this should be some. In fact, why don't we just unwrap it and compare its data value. So unwrap value, unwrap should match those same bits. I don't need to unwrap this one, right? Okay, so there's no error. The value of foo is the first 4 bits. There should only be 4 bits total. There should not be an X. But there should be a Y. This, let's just name it what it is. It's foo. Foo's key children get X should be there, and it should have the same value and not those 4. So I think this will break because I don't think the look ahead actually looks ahead. Yeah, so it's actually looking ahead too far. It's not looking ahead. Hey there, NPV0. Good afternoon. It's now 60 freedom temperature units outside, not 59, so it's warming up, but I still feel cold. Still 69 freedom temperature units here. All right, so the way the look ahead works is after we're done parsing, we rewind back to its offset. So I think that's as easy as doing like before we even see if there's an error, we want to I guess inside ingest component. No. Yeah, right here is the appropriate spot. If let parsing goal look ahead equals statement dot goal, then we have to rewind the bit stream. So that's context, right? Self dot composite dot origin dot. Oh, so we might not have a bit stream. It's if we have one. If let some origin equals that, borrow it mutably, or no, it's in a ref cell. Hey there, kitty. Oh, she's trying to get my attention by doing bad things, and she knows I caught on to her. Now she's like pretending that she only came into here to eat all along. Right, so we have a bitstream subset. So origin dot set. Do I have to borrow it mutably? Bitstream, and it's in a cell within that. Okay, so it's origin dot bitstream. That I have to borrow mutably in order to set the offset back to the origins offset. There. So this rewinds the bit stream back to the beginning of the look ahead statement. Expecting snow this weekend. Really? There's that? Why is it so cold? Hey, we passed. Nice. So we did look aheads. This is getting pretty complicated, right? And yeah. Let's at least put comments here, if not refactor them to separate functions. So this is rewind the bit stream if the goal was to look ahead, was to peak, was to look ahead. Peak. If the part is erroneous, so should the composite be. That's like almost Yoda speak, isn't it? So rephrase. Part errors infect the composite. Or reflect, actually better said, reflect part errors onto the composite. Okay, and then this part is register the part. Add it as a keyed child if it has a name. It's actually always register the part only if it has a name. Add it as a keyed child. Always. Also mark it as local if the goal was not to make a part. If marked as local, it can be referenced within the current context but will be removed from the keyed children on once the composite is fully ingested. Okay, I guess I'm okay with it reformatting like that. Actually, that's not. I wanted to do it this way. Dang it. There we go, sort of. Don't want that indented. It's weird how to preserve the indentation, but it didn't preserve the fact I wanted that to be on its own line. It keeps wanting to combine it with the last bullet, unless I put a blank line there. Register the component only if it has a name. Add as the keyed child always at first. Also mark as local if the goal is not to make a part. If marked as local, it can be referenced in the current component, but will be removed from the keyed children once the composite is fully ingested. Okay. There's actually no real reason for me to use this entry, is there? Couldn't I have like I used to need to hold on to the entry for other purposes, right? But I don't need that anymore. This is only used, gosh, it's getting cold in here. Find all references. Is this only just to avoid construction if we couldn't add it? Yeah, we're always just inserting. Maybe I leave a note here. Consider just consider also consider fully adding the component rather than, what does it do now? Rather than just locating a vacant entry to be filled by the caller, because the caller always immediately fills it. But there is the downside in that if it's an error, then well, that one's fine, but like these other ones, actually, I guess it's just this one. I guess it's just this one that it'll early return on error and not actually have to construct a new component, only to well, hold on. Yeah, the add child in context doesn't know what to fill in with, and this doesn't decide until after we get a vacant slot. So I could do it with a function, but I could also just do it this way. Maybe leave it the way it is. That's what to-dos are for. I get to consider it and do it later, maybe. Okay, I can go for another 15, 20 minutes, I think. Or I guess a half an hour. Rust Analyzer needs to be reloaded. What changed? We get a new version of Rust? Rust up. Update, right? I think we're just getting a new daily. Yeah, because the last update on the stable channel was the 5th. So it must just be updating the nightly. Nightly, daily, same thing, right? 1.75? What's stable on? 73? Okay. I don't think I actually looked to see what was new in 1.73. Kind of curious now. So Rust release notes. Not 73. Clippy function null check lint was uplifted. Did it used to be like pedantic and now it's like always or something? Make no-op method call warn by default. Support interpolated block for try and async in macros. Okay. Make unconditional recursion lint. Detect recursive drops. Future compatibility warning for some impulse being correctly considered not overlapping. These all seems pretty arcane to me. The invalid reference casting lint is not denied. So it's just lints and other arcana. Compiler write version information in a comment section. Add documentation. Stabilize external this call and unwind ABIs. Cool, that's cool. Check only check outlives goals and it will contain to imperative trait. Infer type in irrefutable slice patterns of fixed length as array. So only tier 3 targets, yay. Muscle, what's muscle again? These are obscure targets, right? RISC v64 Linux Android. What's TOS? It's a mini OS run in trust zone for trusted security apps. Huh. Interesting. It's definitely getting colder. What's wrong? Maybe it just was cold and now it's just starting to affect me. My hands are starting to like feel the cold. Oh, they added read, write, and seek impulse for arc file. Okay. Merge functionality of IO sync and IO empty. You don't know that. Implement ref unwind safe for backtrace. Don't know that. Make exit status implement default. Oh, it didn't? Interesting. I guess a default success. Because we're optimistic, right? Cleaner, assert equal and not equal to panic messages. Oh, nice. And a bunch of stabilized APIs. Divide ceiling, next multiple of. Huh. Didn't even know that was a thing. Chown. That wasn't stable before? Huh. Stable as of now. I wonder why that wasn't stable before. Okay. RC weak new is now stable in const context. Neat, I guess. Encode URL params correctly for source ID, bail out on error. Yeah, nothing really like earth-shattering changed then. And then 172. Did I look at this one? I don't remember this. It's just more lint stuff. Huh. It didn't used to do that? It's like standard. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna put on my warm slippers. Got these nice New Balance slippers that are nice and warm. Okay. I have employed the warm slippers. Implement tsend sync for sender. That wasn't implemented before? Huh. So send was sent. That's something that I would have assumed was already implemented. So if you had something that you could send between threads, it's now synchronous to send them. Send it. Okay, well, that's good to know. I guess I never ran into that, but now it's stable. Okay, what was in 171? I'm going back until I remember reading this before. Use Apple M1 as the target CPU for... That's a good thing for me, I guess, because I'm on a Mac Studio. Loosen from array for box T bound to T clone. Actually, someone in chat mentioned this. Remove unnecessary T send bound on error for MPSC send error and try send error. These are all like little micro improvements. Cool. Yeah, const context is getting a lot of love, which is good to see. Const context is neat because what that means is that it's known at compile time, and so it's like that allows a lot more optimization. If you can prove the compiler can prove that it can do something so that it's always the same result every time, then it just pre-computes it at compile time. And it can be used in other compile time only things. Okay, I think I'm done looking at what changed in Rust. That was all spurred by seeing that the Rust analyzer had an update. Now it's rebuilding everything, not because stable updated, but because actually I don't know. Why is it having to rebuild everything? I'm not using the nightly build, am I? I wonder if I am by accident. It wouldn't be too surprised. I might have copied it from my keyboard project where we were using nightly. by default. You're using 1.72. You never update stable? Oh, no, but does that mean I haven't updated since the 3rd? It probably already is lost in my history, right? No, it's not lost. Oh, I was using 72.1. Wait, does that mean that it just got released or that I just didn't update for a long, long time? That just means that I haven't updated forever, right? They would have said recently closed here. They would have said when it was released 3 weeks ago. Wow. Yeah. So I just haven't updated in 3 weeks. Silly me. Okay. Back to finding out what I should be working on. So we're down to 8 for loops. Binary operations. Map, set, vector, and unary operations. And we have adding strings, casting to string. Casting to string. That shouldn't be too hard, right? Why don't we do that next? Close, close. Suggestion source test. Accumulate was a nice place to test this, right? Because to accumulate, you have to cast. So I think it's all the 2s functions we want. Do I have a D to UI? I do. Sort of like jumbled all around, aren't they? Oh no, they're all 2i, and then I don't have an I to D or a UI to D. Shouldn't I have that? I think I should. I should try to have all the combinations, right? I to D. 1. Positive or negative, I guess. And a UI to D is unsigned. So this should be 2.0, and this other one should be 4.0. Hey there, Dernhart86. How are you today? We're waiting on a file lock. Anytime now, Clippy. I think it's because it hasn't run since I updated Rust to 1.73. It still amazes me that I went 3 weeks without updating. Cool. It works, as it should. I don't have an S to I or an S to D. I do have an S to I. I don't have an unparsable S, a parsable S to D though. Yeah, let's copy these. Although, actually, yeah, we do need to have this, right? I do need to be able to confirm that I can convert to a decimal if it's parsable as a decimal. Okay, so that we're going to start with a floating point number, add a parsable number to it. 1.2 E1 should be 20.0 decimal. Unparsable S to D is adding lulls. Okay, so we panicked that it was an error. Unable to coerce 8.0000 to use size. Oh shoot, I know what I did wrong. This is wrong. It's just 8 bits. And also, it should just be a local. We're not. What is this? Why does it say 00? We don't have any bits. Yeah, we're just operating with locals here because it's too much of a pain to encode into bytes a floating point number. Okay, fixed it. All right, cool. So we can't add lulls to 8.0, but we can add 1.2E1 is 12, right? All right, so then I want all these for S, right? Yeah, all of these now for string. So for all the 2Ds all the way down here, it's now to S. And then we're going to add stuff to lulls. Lulls. We should get a string with lulls -1 for the result. Okay, and if we add unsigned integer to lulls, should be lulls1. Okay, and then adding a decimal to lulls, should be lulls and then 0.1. So let's add omega to lulls, and I don't need a parsable unparsable because it's just string concatenation. So that will be lulls omega. Okay, but this is fundamentally not going to work because it's unimplemented. Panicked at not implemented here. Okay, so let's do it. So cast to string value. String. Okay, so string to string is just okay. Some value string s. Actually, nil is also okay. String is very convertible too, so that's just that where we do nil to string. And I just did that wrong, didn't I? I need to have like value string in front. Oops. Okay, it just occurred to me that if it's always going to succeed, then we don't have an option, do we? And it's not fallible, so it's just value. Everything is convertible to string. So all the okay sums, they vanish. Let me try that again. They vanish, and then that happens. Okay, we can get rid of the extra parentheses. All right, so this is clone, right? Or to owned, really. Clone is fine. All right, so then all of these though have to change. There, and there. So the way I do this is I do that to string, right? So like this U to string, I to string, D to string. So it's runtime dispatch to different implementations of toString. Cool. So fix the error up here, right? So this is always okay value, or always okay sum cast to string. Okay, so I don't need a 2. Easy. Hey there, Stamina. How are you doing? Just doing some test-driven development here. Okay, something else not implemented. Let's go implement it. Right, add for strings. Left-hand side. We need to we need to make sure it's a string. Yeah, let's do all of this stuff. This is all good stuff. Right? Cast the right-hand side to string, otherwise, so yeah, expect the right-hand side is a string, otherwise the cast didn't work. The cast happens way up here. Okay, and then this is not true anymore. We don't need to do a sum. We're just making some string, which is left-hand side dot append. Well, we do. Can I just do add? There's no add of strings, right? Create an own string on the left and add a borrow on the right. That's kind of cool. It actually tells me a lot of things I should be doing. So own string means to owned. And then you wanted me to borrow it on the right? Perfect. Couldn't ask for a better diagnostic from Rust. Still failed. Oh, because the expectation was off. Oh, yeah, so do I really care? Actually, why do I have 2 checks? Did I mess that up? I did. I accidentally copied instead of changed it. All right. So we get omega lol, or lul's omega. And all test pass. So that means we got a lul's 0.1, a lul's 1, and a lul's -1 for the other tests. Cool. What more to do? Now we're down to 6 to-dos. Kind of running short on time-ish. Shortish on time. For loops. Binary expression operations. Maps, sets, unary operators, and vector. Actually, unary operators might be quick because that's flip, negative, and not. But I have to do the meanings for all 4 kinds of values. That's the problem. Like, what does it mean to bit flip a string? I guess it's what would I call that? Ambiguous or meaningless? Flip a decimal also, same thing, right? But we should be able to bit flip an integer and an unsigned integer. Yeah. Negative is like flip, but we're really just flipping and adding 1. Except for maybe negative should turn an unsigned to a sign, right? Or do I say that it's invalid because you should have converted it to a signed value first? And not is only for, we'd have to cast it to a Boolean, and then, so it becomes a Boolean, so it's either true or false. Yeah, this is too much work for me to do in 10 minutes. What can I do in 10 minutes? the map and set and stuff is going to take more work because I need to establish a new kind of data value for those. That's going to take a while. The for loop, maybe the for loop's not too bad. So, difference between a for loop and a while loop is that a for loop has 3 additional things. So it has a local loop variable. It has an expression to initialize it to, and it has a statement to execute at the end of every loop. What does it look like? I'm not sure what you mean by it, but maybe you're talking about like what I'm working on. So I'm making a general purpose decoder. That's what this is kind of saying, pulling apart some bytes, figuring out what they mean based off of a format written in a specific language that I made. So here's a GIF or GIF file. How we describe it in the language that I made. It's both structural and functional. So something like a file, like a GIF or GIF or GIF file, starts with a header and ends with the trailer. But then while we're parsing it, we're going to have a loop. So we're going to have any number of datas. And what that looks like after we run the program on taking this and applying it to a binary file would be, well, right now I have a syntax error. Oh, that's a pain. I broke the C version. So I can't show what that means anymore. I'll have to like repair this temporarily. So to repair this, it was what? Put the plus on the right, and that's probably good enough, right? Yeah. Hold on. Build. There we go. So like, I'm feeding it this file, right? This starts with GIF 89A, so it sees those 2 strings because a header has a string and a string that are both 24 bits long. So you see kind of how that works? 24 bits, another 24 bits, and then here's where that width field is. And that comes from after header, there's a logical screen, which has a descriptor, which has that width. And what's curious about that width is that it's a little endian. And so the way you do a little endian is you do the least significant 8 bits, then the most significant, then you shift the most significant to the left 8 bits, add the least significant. So that's why 44, 1. So 1 is shift left 8 bits to be 256, add 44 to that, and you get 300. This binary editor kind of does it for me as long as I have this this little endian thing checked, right? If I don't, then it's interpreted differently. But yeah, that starting from here, if it's little endian, it's 300. So it's this hex editor is kind of doing a weak version of what the tool I wrote does, but mine will go through all the file and figure out what every byte means all the way down to the trailer. So that's what it looks like. And you saw the language, yeah. This be the language. So we can do while loops, but I can't do for loops. Where's an example? Here's a for loop. There's one oddity in the for loop in my language, and that there's this extra semicolon, and that's because to form the grammar of my language for a for loop, I leverage the span statement, and span statement, if we go down, or is it up? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. It was here, right? Yeah, the statements always end in either a brace or a semicolon. So like this is an increment statement. So increment statements always have a semicolon in it. So that's why it had to have a semicolon there. So the only way I could think of to fix this would be a huge change to the grammar, which would be that statement doesn't have any semicolons in it. but the semicolon has to be put into like the separator between statements, which is here. I'd have to put like a semi here. But then the problem is, well, if this is empty, that means we'd have to put a semicolon in front of every statement. So then it just makes the rules more and more complicated. So I haven't figured that out yet. But yeah, it's designed to be kind of like C, but with some oddities. How do you parse something like DNS records? What I would do is I would go to DNS packet format, and we would find the structure of a DNS packet. Here we go. It is a header, a question, an answer, authority, and additional, right? So then I would go back to here and I would say DNS. What was it? Header, question, answer, authority, and additional. And then I would just see like, what is a header? Okay, here's a structure of a header, right? It's got an 8-bit, a 16-bit ID, and then it's got a QR and an opcode and an AA. So I would just translate this formal specification of what a DNS packet looks like into these structures, right? Header has a UI called ID that's 16 bits. And then it has a QR, which is a 1-bit field, so it's bit QR. And then it has an opcode, which is a 4-bit field. So UI opcode 4. And then, etc. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you get the idea. So the encoding of the records is described in my language using a combination of names, types, and bounds or limits. So a 4-bit field that is an unsigned integer is named opcode is in a part statement looking like that. And the order in which we parse is from most to least significant. Not the DNS header, the DNS record. Well, that's in answer, isn't it? So DNS question, and then we get down to the answers, right? There's the query. Is answer not described here? Answer the question. Where's the answer? There's the question. Here we go, answer. So there's name, type, class, time to live, RD length, and RData. Is that what you mean? I guess it doesn't go into what the meaning of RData is because it says it's dependent on the type field. So if the type is an A record, then it's an IP address for 4 bytes. If it's a C name, then it's a string of some kind. If it's 2, it's a name server. If it's type 15, it's a mail server. It's a preference in exchange. So something like that, like when I get to writing the format for RData, I would say like if type equals 1, then A. Else if type equals 5, CNAME. Else if type equals 2, name server. Right? So when I'm inside of answer, right, I'd have first comes the name. Let's assume I figure out how to parse that. And there's type, which is 2 octets. So UI type 16, right? And then let's say we skip down class and TTL and RD length. So here I would say if type equals 1, it's like they said, right? If type equals 1, then it's an A record. Else if type equals 5, it's a CNAME, etc. So that's how I would parse something like a DNS record. Is if some part like the RD data depends on some previous part, they'll say it in the spec here. They'll actually say if the type is something, then it is an IP address, right? So I encode that literally as an if statement. Hope that makes sense. What do you mean record? Like, how do they use dots to specify the number of characters after? What do you mean? Dots and characters. Oh, Stamina is asking. I think what DNS record means is the answer to a DNS query. If we're talking about like a DNS is domain name server. So the question is actually somewhat ambiguous because we could be talking about the answer to a DNS query, or we could be talking about how the DNS saves the records in a database somewhere. So these are like different things. I just interpreted the question to mean the answer to a DNS query. That's where you're confused at? Yeah. So I don't know if stamina means an answer to a query or like how it's stored on the server. And actually how a DNS record is stored might not even be specified anywhere because it's an implementation detail. I think I answered the question sufficiently. Yeah. Well, I'm just kind of killing time because I don't have enough time to really work on more. But I always like a challenge. So if the challenge is, hey, how would you do DNS? Sure, well, we can get into it. Yeah, I gotta go to work now. So I'll be back tomorrow, I think, to work on more. I think I'll do the for loop because, like I was showing, there's not much more to a for loop than what I already have. I already have all the pieces. It's more easily shown in statement, right? It's the same as a while loop because it's got a condition and statements. It's exactly the same types, only it's got these extra things we got to do. And that's pretty much like a local, and that's like an assignment, and that's like, and we already have statements. So this should be just reusing things we already have. Kuva, man, you can't raid me when I'm about to raid someone else. That's not fair. I gotta go to work, and you just raided me, and I feel bad now. So maybe Kuva, man, who would you have raided if I wasn't streaming? Maybe Soding or low-level learning or Jalingsdorf or someone else. So welcome Raiders from Kuverman stream. Hope you had a great stream. I got to go to work. I was working on the, what do we call it? My version of Wireshark. So I'm making a tool that in the end is going to have a GUI reminiscent of this, where they'll have like a hex editor, and when you can click on a byte and it'll tell you what it means. And the only way it knows is if you teach it. And the way you teach it is I have a custom language where we describe formats. Like this is the GIF or GIF, however you want to pronounce it. This is the format of that. And it's like a C-like language that has a mix of like saying what type to parse bytes as. So here's string and how many bits and what to call it. And also like conditional logic, and we have loops. We have fun times. Well, thank you, Jerem. So that's what I'm working on. I'll be back tomorrow to work on it more. And I'm kind of driven by the to-dos in my code. So like the language I just showed you has different kinds of statements in it. These statements are all geared towards parsing data. So most statements will be like, starting from the first byte, what does that byte mean? But some other statements will be like loops and conditionals. Like if something we already parsed is a 1, do this. If it's a 2, do something else. So some of it's implemented and some of it isn't. And I'll probably be doing for loops next time. So if you're interested, please come back tomorrow. But yeah, I gotta go. I think we're gonna raid Soding, because I haven't raided Soding in forever. And he's working on a hash table in C. That sounds interesting. So let's learn about hash tables while I go get ready for work. But yeah, thank you again. I'll be back tomorrow about 7 a.m. Pacific. All right. See you then. Goodbye.